The Rare Werewolf by Casey Hulin. Summary. Rory was 1 in a million. You could say she was one of the only she-wolves that could shift, let alone that it happened at a young age. She decided to keep it to herself and train in secret. Her whole life she told herself not to be a hero, but one day her hand is forced and she must reveal her deepest secret that she kept hidden for so many years. Before we start, let us know in the comments where you're listening from and what kind of stories you enjoy most. We love hearing from our listeners.
Chapter 1. Rory. Hi, I'm Rory, but people call me Ro, and I have a big secret. When I was 12, I shifted, and just like my hair and eyes, my wolf is a bright red with hues of black throughout my coat, and my eyes are an emerald green. You see, it's rare for females wolves, the proper term she-wolf, to shift, and when it does happen, the she-wolf is normally a lot stronger than the average male wolf, and sometimes the female can be bigger than the males in wolf form. So when it happens, it's a very big deal, but I decided to keep it a secret, mainly because I'm an omega, and omegas are the filth of the pack, or at least mine. When I was a pup, my parents were killed in a rogue attack. The only wolves that talk to me are my friends Nellie and Norman. All three of us are omegas. And in the same grade at the all-wolf high school we go to, Westwood High, the only people that know I can shift are Nellie and Norman. I trust them to keep my secret, and they have since I was 12. I am turning 18 in 1 month, and when a wolf turns 18, they have to make the choice of staying in the pack or leaving. That's also when the wolf can sense their mate. Oh, and a she-wolf can't mate until the night of her 18th birthday. I can't wait to find my mate. Just the thought of having someone that loves you no matter what or who you are makes me want to find them now instead of waiting. But the problem with my pack is that if you're an omega when you turn 18, you're automatically kicked out. You see, my pack alpha wants only the strongest of the wolves in his pack. And if you're an omega, you have no place in his pack. But if you're a she-wolf that can shift, you're actually considered at the same level as a beta, and depending on who your parents were, sometimes an alpha. A beta is the second in command of the pack, so you're held to pretty high standards. Most of the time, she-wolves are underestimated by other wolves. We she-wolves actually have many different talents, but mine isn't very useful. You see, I'm just really smart and fast. Growing up, Nellie always told me to speak up and say what's on my mind. But I never did. I never thought about why I didn't. I just never found it would be wise to speak up to a wolf that is stronger or a higher ranking than myself. But Nellie, on the other hand, does all the time. Sometimes she even does it for me, even when I ask her not to.
Max. Hi, I'm Max. I don't really have a nickname, mostly because I'm the soon-to-be Alpha King. Most people see me or hear my name and either run in fear, think I'm some snob, or an asshole. Truth is, I'm none of those things. Everyone believes I had this perfect life, perfect family. Part of that is true, I had the perfect family, other than not have my mate. But everything changed. I lost my parents during a rogue attack 2 years ago on my birthday. Now I live in my childhood home, mateless with a lot of guards. I would tell them to go back to the Packlands, but if I did, it would just be me. So, I have decided to hold a ball to find my mate. I really hope she comes. I want to meet her, get to know her, have her with me. I want her. When I find her, I will open the gates again and let my pack come in once again.
Chapter 2. Rory. I was walking to class with my friends Nellie and Norman. We were talking about what we did over the weekend. Nellie and Norman started dating, which I saw from a mile away, and well, I had to clean the alpha's office and bedroom. Both were very messy, and I found some very disturbing things. I don't want to talk about it. I still can't get the image out of my mind. I told Nellie, but please, Essie. Nellie begged. No, it was gross, and I prefer not to relive it. Thank you very much, I said as we walked into our class. Classes went by in a blur, and soon enough lunch came around. As we walked into the cafeteria to get in line, I heard someone scream unsullied. The girl screamed. The boys in our class weren't strong enough to stop it. I think now you have no choice but to show who you truly are, Norman said. I looked at Nellie, and she shook her head in agreement. I looked around at the other students. Most of the guys were on the ground unconscious, the girls screaming, or running only to get hurt. No teachers in sight, and I had to make the biggest decision of my life. Right now, save my pack or run with my tail tucked between my legs. "Hey, Unsullied," I shouted, causing everyone to look at me, including the Unsullied. I could hear some of the guys yelling my name, telling me to run, but I didn't. I followed my feet, letting them lead me to my fight. Before I took another step, I looked back at my friends, only to be met with two smiling faces. I turned and started to sprint towards the Unsullied. It swung its large claws at me. I jumped behind it and shifted the moment no one could see me. I took the opportunity to get ready for an attack as soon as it turned around. Once it did, I bit into its arm, causing it to screech out in pain. The Unsullied tried to shake me off, but I didn't let go until I tore its arm off. When I did, I was in view of everyone. I heard gasps from everyone. Then I heard feet hitting the ground as pack members came running in. One of the hunters distracted it so the alpha could talk to me. I stayed in my wolf form, and he bent down, so we were eye to eye. All he asked was, "Want some help?" I nodded my head and ran back to the Unsullied as the hunters watched me work. "Wow," I heard one hunter say, "they're good." Another said, "Stop standing around and help, you idiots," the alpha yelled. The hunters instantly joined me, and within a few minutes the Unsullied was dead. All the wolves shifted, except for me. One of the hunters came up to me, kneeled down. "Who are you?" he asked. I looked past him to my friends, and they nodded, understating what they meant. I backed up from the man and shifted only to be met by gasps and wide-eyed looks. "The Omega," one of them said, as the alpha growled. "She can shift, so therefore she is a higher-ranking wolf than any of you. Show some respect." I looked at him as if he had two heads. "What are you talking about? First I'm some handmaid, now I'm royalty. Wow, your perspective of me changed real quick. Don't you think, Alpha?" I said, causing everyone to look at me dumbstruck. I stood there making eye contact with the alpha, causing him to growl. I laughed. "I'm leaving the pack when I turn 18. I don't want to be a part of a pack that treats their pack members based off of their rank. That's not the type of pack I want to call my home," I said, then walked out with Nellie and Norman trailing behind me. The walk back to the pack house was quiet. Once we got back, I headed to my room to take a shower and take a nap before I have to start on dinner. Later that day, around 5, I headed down to the first floor. As I walked through the pack house, wolves would move out of my way and bowed their heads. I just scoffed and kept walking. When I got in the kitchen, I saw Nellie and Norman. We shared the same look, knowing what each other were thinking. We started making dinner as the pack started to come in from working all day. Every now and then, they would lock eyes with me, only to look down, showing submission. Once we were done with dinner, I walked up to my room and started packing, as Nellie and Norman walked in with bags for me. "Here, we figured you would need these," they said, and smiled. I grabbed the bags and looked inside. One bag had food, while the other and other necessities I would need. I hugged them and finished packing. I waited for the pack house to go quiet, then I snuck downstairs and out the pack house, not making a single sound. Once my feet hit the grass, I took off into the forest. "Now I'm on my own," I thought out loud.
Max, all week I have been preparing for the ball. Some girls have been showing up early, claiming they couldn't wait to see me, and I just sent them home telling them they have to wait until the ball. They have waited this long to meet me, so they can wait a little longer.
Chapter 3. Rory. It has been a week since I left my old pack, and I think I'm doing pretty good for being on my own. Although I haven't been able to find any good food. I'm almost at my breaking point. I'm currently in another pack's land, and that's when I saw it a poster for all available she-wolves who are mateless. The poster said the soon-to-be Alpha King was looking for a queen. I know it's a long shot, but why not? It took a day's run to get to the town that lead to the soon-to-Alpha King's pack. I checked into a hotel in town so I could get some sleep and proper food for the night to come. When I woke up, I looked at the time. It was only 6 p.m., so I had time to take a shower and freshen up a little. I had exactly 1 hour. When I got out the shower, it was 6:30. The only fancy dress I had was a light blue with an open back that hugged my body. Nellie had given me silver heels to go with it, so that's what I wore. When I glanced at the clock again, it was 6:40 and left me with enough time to get the soon-to-be Alpha's pack. When I got there, the hunters had the ladies waiting at the gates of the soon-to-be Alpha's personal house, and might I add, it was huge. A few minutes go by, and the hunters tell us we can go in most. Of the girls run inside, but I wait and let them have their fun. Once I get inside, I take my time to look around and enjoy the amazing sight before me. The inside of his house is like something from a fairy tale. I notice the room get really quiet. Then I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turn around to be met by a guard. "Excuse me, miss, but the ladies have moved on to the ballroom," the guard said with a smile. "Oh, of course. Thank you, sir," I say, and start to make my way to the ballroom. As I'm leaving, I hear the guards talking. "We might be seeing her again." One guard said, "What makes you say that? How can you be so sure?" Another guard says, "I felt it when I touched her shoulder. It was pure goodness, with a mixture of heart and bravery bearings." The first guard said. I smiled and continued on. When I made it to the ballroom, 2 guards opened the door for me. "Hurry inside, miss. They're about to start," the older guard said. I smiled and bowed my head in thanks and entered. Once I entered, I slowly made my way to the side of the room, as to stay out the way. Many girls stared at me in disgust. Their stares made me feel uncomfortable, so I tried moving out of sight, bumping into a server and knocking the tray out of his hand. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," I said, as I instantly help him pick up the glass. "Miss, please, I can do it myself." He says, "No, allow me. I caused this mess. It's only fair. I help," I told him with a smile. "But what if you get cut, miss?" He said he's right. "You know," a man said. I looked up, to be met by the most beautiful eyes, a mix of blue and purple, the soon-to-be Alpha King. He helped me stand, and tried walking away, with my hand in his. Wait," I said, as he stopped in his tracks and looked back at me. "You really want to help him, don't you?" he asked. I shook my head, not finding my voice. He sighed and let me help the server. Once I was done, I was expecting him to be gone, but he wasn't. He was still waiting for me. It's been about 2 or 3 hours since the start of the party. Just as I was about to leave, I was stopped by one of the guards you have been asked for. He said, "Oh, by whom may I ask?" I asked. He began to walk and signaled for me to follow. He led me to a terrace just off the kitchen. I stepped out onto the terrace to be met by the moon. "So pretty," I whispered. "Isn't it?" the Alpha King said, appearing out of nowhere. I smiled and shook my head in agreement. "How was the party?" he asked. "I thought it went well," I replied. "My name is Max," he said while moving closer to me. Max stood next to me. "Nice to meet you, Max. I'm Rory, but my friends call me Ro," I said, smiling. Chapter 4, Ro. Max and I talked for hours, and it felt natural. I don't know why, but I want to be around him all the time. Max is the oldest of 3. He has 2 younger sisters. His sister Rose is in an arranged marriage with an alpha from another pack. His sister Maybelle isn't 18 yet, and she wants to find her mate. Rose never did, hence the arranged marriage. Max is 20, about to be 21, when he will take the title as Alpha King. We stood there for a little while longer, getting to know each other's backgrounds. I told him about my old pack, my friends, and why I left, but I left out that I could shift, of course. He drove me back to the hotel that night, but he would only leave if I promised to come back the next day, and I did. The next day I woke up with this terrible pain in my chest. I rummaged through my bag and found some medicine to help with the pain. It didn't really help. I got dressed in jeans and a black crop top with Converse. It was a 15-minute walk to Max's home, if I can call it that. When I got there, he greeted me at the door and welcomed me in. The pain in my chest went away the moment I saw Max, and I knew why. I am Max's mate. How did I not notice this last night, at any point? "I feel stupid," I said under my breath. Why? Max asked, hearing me as we stood in the entrance. Uh-oh. Nothing. Just thinking out loud, I said, lying through my teeth. He just looked at me, then frowned. Please don't lie to me, Max said, looking down at me. I looked down, then back up. I opened my mouth to say something, but nothing came out. I looked down again, and Max took my chin in his hand. Let's go to another room, Max said. I nodded, and he led to the library. Once we entered, I was at a loss for words. The library was huge. So where were we? Max asked, looking down at me once again. I looked up, and that's when Max said the magic word, mate. I looked at him in pure shock, then he smiled. You knew? I asked. Yes, he said, still smiling. And you didn't tell me? I said. Max just chuckled and nodded for how long, I asked. Since the ball, when I held your hand and helped you stand, he said. It's been a few days since we had that conversation. Max and I have spent every day together. I can feel myself falling more and more in love with him. We decided to stay friends for the time being, but I don't want to be just friends anymore. The mate bond has grown, and I'm not sure if I can fight against it anymore. Right as Max was about to kiss me, one of the guards walked in. Excuse me, sir, we have a problem, he said. What is it? Max practically growled. I hugged his arm to try and keep him calm. Max looked down at me and smiled. I swear my heart stopped. I unraveled my arm from his and backed away. What's the problem? Max asked his guard. It's better if I show you, he said. Max turned towards me and said, I'll be back, okay? I smiled and nodded. A few minutes after they left, I decided to go find the terrace. Max and I had our first real conversation. I heard Max yelling. Then I saw him storming into the kitchen. I wanted them to know I was here so I could help Max, but I don't know what to do. Well, you need to get married before the war between the Packlands happen, Max. Rather it's with your mate or not, the man said. You don't think I know that, but I'm not going to force someone into that, especially not her, Max said. Dude, if you don't force it, I will, he said, Derek. I'm not forcing my mate to marry me, if she's not ready, Max said, sounding agitated. One of the older guards walked in. Alpha. She's gone. What do you mean she's gone? He asked. I could hear the fear in his voice, the fear of losing me. And then he said it. I can't lose her. She's the best thing that has happened to me since the attack. And you won't lose me, I said, stepping into the kitchen. Max turned around and hugged me, not letting go, and to be honest, I didn't want him to. Why were you on the terrace? He asked. I wanted to feel the cool breeze and feel the sun, I said, looking down. I'm sorry if I worried you, I continued. Max hugged me again and said, It's okay, you have nothing to be sorry for. Well, at least she knows what she must do, Derek said.
Chapter 5. Max. I wanted to slap him so hard I could feel myself getting mad all over again. I felt Ro put her hand on my arm. As she walked in front of me, she let her hand glide across my arm to my chest. Derek was it. Who the hell do you think gave you the right to tell me what I need and don't need to do? Oh, and you got some nerve talking to people like they are your personal walkway. If you don't know what basic human decency is, I will be happy to teach you. And while I'm at it, I'll teach you how to respect others as well. If you need any other lessons, just let me know, Ro said. I couldn't help but have to hide my laugh. His face was so pale he looked sick. He just left without saying a word. Ro turned to me, her hand still on my chest. Gosh, I hate people like that. They piss me off, she said. Look where your hand is, love, I said, and she looked down. Her face turned bright red as she slowly pulled her hand away. Sorry, I didn't know that's where my hand was, she said. I laughed and pulled her to me. I will never leave you. I will always be here for you. We have time. I promise, I said, looking down into her beautiful sea-green eyes. Ro smiled and hugged me, then walked back to the terrace. I followed her and stood behind her. You know it's really pretty out today, Ro said, leaning back against me. So, let's go out for a walk, I proposed. She shook her head, agreeing instantly.
Ro. He packed us a picnic basket and led me to a pond. When we got there, I was in awe. There was a giant clearing surrounded by trees, and in the middle was a big pond. We sat in the grass enjoying the sun and eating. We had chocolate-covered strawberries for dessert, ham sandwiches, soda, and mini sausages. After we ate, I decided to stick my feet into the pond. I sat on the rim of the pond and let my feet dangle in the water. Max came sit and joined me. He brought the chocolate-covered strawberries with him and placed them between us. We sat for what seemed like hours, just getting to know each other more and more. It was extremely nice and relaxing. Once we got back to the house, I decided to take a shower. I didn't have any clothes, so I just wore a pair of Max's sweatpants and a black t-shirt. Later that night, Max and I were on the couch watching a movie when he asked, "Would you like to move in with me tomorrow?" I just looked up at him and smiled. "I would love to," I said. We finished the movie, then headed upstairs to get ready for bed. When we got in the room, I went brush my teeth while Max changed into PJ pants. When I was done, he entered, and I went to sleep.
Chapter 6. Max. When I woke up this morning, I saw Ro was still sleeping peacefully. I carefully got up without waking her up, took a shower, then went downstairs. I made a cup of coffee and decided to go for a run. I wrote Ro a note and left it on the kitchen counter.
Ro, I woke up to an empty bed. I guess he's downstairs, I thought. I got up and took a shower, then headed downstairs, only to find a note that read, "Good morning, my beautiful mate. I went out for a run. I'll be back soon. I guess I'll just make breakfast." As I went to grab a pan, one of the kitchen staff came into the room. "Oh, good morning, miss. Would you like some help?" she asked. "Sure, but what's your name?" I asked. She looked away before speaking. "Ash, miss," she said in a quiet voice. "Okay, asked. Would you mind by grabbing the bacon and milk?" I asked, and Ash nodded, grabbing the things. Once we got done making pancakes and bacon for everyone, I asked for all the staff and the few wolves that lived in the Alpha King's house. After a few minutes of waiting, everyone was in the kitchen, waiting for me to speak. As a thank you for being nice and so welcoming, I made everyone breakfast with the help of Ash. "Of course," I said, as I watched smiles appear on everyone's faces. After we all ate, everyone went their own way as the kitchen staff began to clean up the mess from breakfast. I started to grab plates from the table when Ash came up to me. "Please, you don't need to help. You have already done enough cooking breakfast for everyone," she said, reaching for the plates. I moved the plates from her. "I know I don't need to help, but I want to. It's the least I can do with all the work you guys do on a daily basis," I said with a smile. With that said, I helped the kitchen staff clean the mess from breakfast. After that, I made my way through the house, seeing if anyone else needed help. Some tried to lie and say they didn't, but I saw that they were struggling, so I helped them out. So it's safe to say I was pretty busy all day, but I don't mind. It's been a few hours since breakfast. When I sensed Max, I got up and went to meet him. "I have heard all good things about you," he said. I looked at him confused, and he laughed. "I haven't been back more than 3 minutes, and already everyone in the house has mind-linked me and told me how kind, nice, and helpful you are," Max told me. "I was just thanking everyone for being welcoming on their own," I admitted. "Well, everyone loves you already. I'm pretty sure some already see you as Luna," Max said and kissed me on the cheek. "I'm going shower," he said, and I smiled in response. For the rest of the day, he was stuck in meeting after meeting, so I haven't seen him all day. My wolf is reacting to my feelings, and she's quiet and still.
Max, I have been in meeting all day. I can feel the strain of my mate bond, and it's not good. We haven't mated, so we can't be apart for too long. With that said, we haven't been together all day. I need to see her before it gets worse. After this meeting, I'm going find her, I thought. It's been an hour, and I'm still stuck in this damn meeting. Just as I was about to excuse myself, one of the staff mind-linked me. "Alpha, it's your mate. She's not looking too good, and I know you two haven't mated, so you need to get here now," he said. I stood up, getting everyone's attention. "I need to go. We can continue this tomorrow," I said, about to leave. "It's your mate, isn't it? I told you to mate with her, whether she was ready or not." "Dude," I hear Darek's voice. I stop in my tracks, all eyes on me. I try to calm myself down before speaking to my best friend. "And Beta, I told you once, I'm not forcing my mate into something she's not even ready for. I don't want to lose her, because I did something to hurt her. I said, I get where you're coming from, but if you're going to wait, you need to be careful with her. And as much as you don't like it, you need to start bringing her with you when you go somewhere. Not being together almost all the time will kill her. Now go to her, and we will finish this meeting today, my uncle said. I nodded my head and went to my mate. When I got to Ro, she was curled up on the couch with the staff around her. I pulled her into my arms and just held her for a few minutes. When the mate bond was strong again, I started to walk back to the meeting. When I got to the door about to open it, she tightened her arms around my neck. It's okay. They understand, I whispered to her, and she nodded. I walked in, and all eyes were on us. Everyone, this is my mate Rory, I said, and everyone said hi. She's a quiet one, isn't she? My uncle asked. No, she's mean, Darek said, and everyone laughed. We continued with the meeting and finished an hour later. I brought Ro to the kitchen for dinner, then we headed to the room to get ready for bed. While she was in the shower, I was flipping through the TV channels. A few minutes of doing that, she walked out in nothing but my t-shirt. Ro joined me on the bed and got comfortable. I went to shower, and when I got back, she was fast asleep, so I joined her and pulled her to my chest. Soon enough, I dozed off.
Chapter 7. Ro. The next morning, I was woken up by Max. Good, you're awake. Get ready, the Wolf Council wants to meet you properly, he said. Not wanting to argue, I got up and got dressed in a blue knee-length dress with simple black heels. Max is waiting for me in the kitchen. As I got closer, I heard him talking to someone. When do you think she will be ready to take on any of her queen roles and duties? An older man asked. Speaking of our future queen, when are you two going to mark each other at least? A younger man asked. I walked into the kitchen when the time comes, I said, walking over to Max. Another thing, I have been willing to start my queen roles and duties the moment I found out that Max and I were mates, I said, looking the older man in the eyes. They sat stunned that I spoke my mind compared to the last time they saw me. A few minutes go by until the rest of the council walks into the room. They look at Max and lower their heads as a hello, which Max returns. So why do I feel like we missed something important? One of them asked. Because you did, man. She talked, the younger man from earlier said. By the way, I'm Nathaniel, but everyone calls me Nate, the younger wolf said. After everyone introduced themselves, we started talking, just getting to know each other. I must say they are actually really nice. Max's uncle is Jeremy. He is the Alpha King, until Max can take over in 2 months. Let's talk about your future as Alpha King, a Luna Queen, Jeremy said. I nodded and looked over at Max. I know both of you are tired of this topic, but you need to mark and mate each other to strengthen the packs, he said. Max groaned, and the topic I decided to speak for the both of us. Like I said earlier, when the times comes for it, and before you say anything, Darek, yes, I know there is a war coming and our kind is at the middle of it. You don't need to keep reminding us. We both have people we want to protect, let alone the packs. All we ask for is some time. In a month's time, we will have marked and mated each other. I give you my word and promise on that, I said, while they stared wide-eyed at me, speaking out again, and Max looked at me in awe.
Max, this woman will be the death of me. I swear she is more than I could ask for. She speaks her mind when needed, and she's not scared to, I thought. When she finished talking, she walked over to the cabinet and pulled out 2 coffee cups and poured coffee for her and I. When she came back over to me, Nate spoke. I would be stupid to disagree with her, and as our future queen and king, we need to trust them to make the right decisions on their own. He finished with a smile. Everyone else nodded their heads in agreement, not wanting to annoy us any further on the topic. We sat there for another 2 hours, just talking, until it was time for them to leave and head back to their packs. Rose said her goodbyes and headed to the library. Jeremy pulled me to the side. She will be one of the strongest Luna Queens that I have ever seen in my time. Don't underestimate her in the slightest, he said, and I nodded. After they left, I went to find Ro. When I entered the library, I saw her struggling to grab a book. I went to grab the book for her, but held it over her head, making it higher than it originally was. Hey, I need that, she said, pouting. I laughed. And you have what I need, I smirked, making her giggle. God, I love this woman, I thought. I leaned down, placing my forehead on hers. I used my other hand to tilt her head up, and with that I kissed her. I handed her the book, moved out the way so she could walk past me when she did. I wrapped my arms around her waist and rested my face in the crook of her neck.
Ro, it's been a few weeks and I think I'm ready to let Max mark and mate me. If I'm being honest, that man can do whatever he wants to me. Max is so genuine and kind. He always makes sure I'm okay with anything he does. It amazes me of how ruthless he can be to others, who intend to harm the people he cares about. But at the same time, it makes me proud to call him mine, my mate, my forever. It's around dinner time, and I make my way to the kitchen. Sure enough, I find Max sitting at the table, eating with some pack members and his uncle. I sat down and joined them in eating. How am I going to tell him I'm ready to complete the mating? I thought, completely stopping with eating. Max nudged me and asked, "Are you okay? You seem lost," in a whisper. "Yeah, I just have a lot on my mind," I said, not completely lying, but not completely telling him the truth. I lost my appetite, so I got up and started to walk away. Then it hit me. I mind-linked Max. "Come find me when you're done." He looks at me dumbfounded. I giggled and walked to our room. When I got to the room, I changed into comfy clothes and climbed into bed. I guess I fell asleep because I was getting woken up by Max with the room pitch black. "Hey love, I'm going shower. I'll be back soon," he said, then disappeared into the bathroom. I waited until I heard the shower turn on and gave it a second. Then I climbed out of bed and walked into the bathroom, closing the door behind me. "Miss me already, love?" Max asked. I began to undress as I was about to walk forward. Max peeked his head out of the shower. Our eyes locked, and I refused to look away. Slowly, I stepped toward him, pulling the curtain aside and stepping in before letting it fall closed again. "What are you—" Max started, but I cut him off by kissing him. When we pulled apart, our eyes met once more. I took his hands and placed them on my waist. "Are you sure?" Max asked. I smiled and nodded. Without another word, Max wrapped his arms around me and pulled me closer, kissing me again. The warmth between us felt undeniable, stronger than ever. He rested his forehead against mine before moving closer, his lips brushing gently against my neck where he would place his mark. "Do it, please," I whispered. He pulled back slightly, searching my eyes. "Are you sure?" I nodded again. Max smiled and carefully placed his mark on me. The moment sent a rush of energy through my entire body, deepening the bond between us in a way words couldn't explain. When he pulled away, our eyes met again, and I leaned forward, pressing a soft kiss to his lips before returning the gesture, placing my mark on him as well. For a few quiet moments, we stayed there together, holding on to each other as the reality of what we had done settled in. Later, Max carried me to the bed, and we stayed close through the rest of the night, letting the bond between us grow stronger with every passing moment.
Chapter 8. Max. The next morning, I woke up still on cloud 9 from the previous night. I got up trying not to wake Ro up, but I failed. When we locked eyes, she smiled, then pulled me back down on top of her. "Did someone not have enough last night?" I asked with a smirk played on my face. She blushed and looked away. "I just wanted a kiss, you ass," Ro said while pouting. I laughed and kissed her. "I'm going shower, if you want to join me," I said. She smiled and nodded. With that, we got up and went take a shower. I can't believe this woman is all mine. I must say, though, one thing I'm not prepared for is this stupid meeting with the packs to set up training for the war that is headed our way, and will be here in a month's time. We got out of the shower, got dressed and headed down to the kitchen, only to be greeted by the council. "It's done then? You completed it last night?" Jeremy asked. I nodded, and everyone went nuts congratulating us on being fully mated finally. We spent all morning talking and just joking around with Ro sitting on the countertop drinking coffee. "I think you should move your coronation from soon-to-be Alpha King and soon-to-be Luna Queen to after the 4-week training camp," Derek said. "I agree," rest of the council said. I looked over to Ro, and everyone followed my eyes as we waited for her to speak. "I don't see why not. It will be beneficial for the packs to have the true king and queen on the throne when this war starts, but we won't have much time. So when you start the training camp, I'll start the preparations for the coronation. With you gone visiting packs, it will be best for me to do this, since I'm not going with you. Ro said. I looked at her shocked. Then Jeremy cut in. I have a better idea. You go with Max while you plan things. Just communicate them back to me. I'll tell the staff. I'll also be running the training here for our pack, the Crescent Moon. Plus the packs need to know you're willing to take time to see them, no matter what may be happening. It will also be a good chance for you and the Lunas to get to know each other, he said, and I agreed with him. We waited for her answer. I like that idea. I agree too, Ro said, and everyone smiled, and we continued our conversation.
Ro, I'm in the room getting my things ready for the 4-week training, as Max and I are going to be spending a day at each pack, ending with ours. Hey, you ready? Max asked, walking into our room. Yeah, just getting my smaller bag ready. Can you go grab our toothbrushes and toothpaste? I'm just going to put them in here, I said, slasked. He nodded and went grab them. And I'm done, I said, zipping my bag. Max hugs me and we leave with our things for the next 4 weeks. We make our way downstairs and get stopped by Jeremy. Remember, I will be in contact with you about how you want the coronation done and what you want the decorations to look like, he said. Okay, thank you so much for this, I said, giving him a smile before we hit the road. So which pack? If first, I asked Max, as we pulled out of the driveway. Max laughed. Someone's excited, he said, glancing at me. I hit him lightly on the shoulder. Of course I'm excited. I get to see and meet our packs. So who's first? I asked. Max smiled. The Blood Moon pack is first. It's a 3-hour ride there, he said. So we will get there around 10 a.m., I asked, and he nodded. You might as well get some sleep. We will be busy when we get there, he said, and I took his advice, and I fell asleep faster than I thought.
Max. As we were approaching the town the Blood Moon pack was by, I stopped in a cafe and gently woke Ro. Good morning, sunshine, I said, and kissed her forehead. Where are we? She asked while stretching. I laughed. We are 20 minutes from the Blood Moon pack, I said. Ro sat up and looked around. What are we doing here? She asked. I thought you would want some food, I said, and smiled. Ro shook her head and got ready to get out. I turned off the car and walked around to her side. If the car, I opened the door for her and let her take the lead. We walked into the cafe. It was small and old-fashioned. We took a seat at a booth and waited for the waiter.
Ro, as we sat down, I pulled out my phone to check the time. It was currently 9:40. I looked up at Max. What time did we wake up this morning? I asked. He smiled and simply said, 5 o'clock. What time did we leave? I asked. He laughed. 7 something. Why? He said, it's just you said we would get to the pack at 10. I said. He smiled. Exactly. We will get there at 10. I gave us time so we can stretch our legs and get something to eat before we get there, he said. I have to admit, my mate is very smart. I ordered the egg omelet, and Max got a breakfast burrito. I got an iced coffee, while he got regular coffee with little sugar and no creamer. I have to say I love him, but he is one weird man, which of course I won't say that I love him first. After we ate and paid, we got back on the road, after filling up the car, of course, and 20 minutes later, we were pulling into the Blood Moon pack main house, where most of the pack lived.
Chapter 9. Max. As we pulled up to the gate leading to the pack house, we got stopped by wolves at the front gate. Who are you? He asked. Alpha King and Luna Queen, I said, and he looked into my car. I'm so sorry, Alpha. And Luna? Please give me a moment, he said, and I nodded my head. I watched as he motioned for a wolf in the stand to open the gate. Once the gate was opened, the 3 wolves, 2 outside the gate and 1 inside, bowed as we passed them. When we got to the pack house, I got out and greeted the pack Alpha, as an Omega opened the door for Ro to step out. I hear Ro thank the Omega, and I looked back at her, causing the pack Alpha and his family to look her way. Allow me to introduce everyone. This is my mate, Rory, and this is Alpha Philip, his mate Luna Ragian, and their children Stephanie and Lewis, I said. It's a pleasure to meet you, Luna Queen, Rory Philip said. Ro smiled. Please call me Ro, she said in her angelic voice. Can I? Luna Regain asked, motioning for a hug, and Ro welcomed it and they embraced one another. I must say you are gorgeous, Regian said to Ro, and she smiled. I am not as gorgeous, and Stephanie, Ro said, and smiled, looking down at Stephanie. So how old are you? Stephanie Rowe asked, lowering herself more to Stephanie's height so they were eye to eye. Stephanie smiled and said, I'm 13, and you can call me Steph, she said. Rowe looked over to Louis. And what about you? She asked. Louis smiled, as well. I'm 15, and you can call me Lou, he said. No one calls you that, Louis, Steph called out. Lou it is then, is that your nickname? Rowe asked, and Louis nodded. But Steph is right. No one calls me that, because I'm next in line to be Alpha, he said. How about we go in and see what the pack is up to, Lou? I said. Asked. He looked up at me and smiled. Okay, he said, and led us inside. When we entered, Philip walked to the top of the staircase and got everyone's attention. Until tomorrow morning we will be hosting the Alpha King and his mate, the Luna Queen, he said. And everyone cheered, and we ascended the staircase. Good morning, everyone. I and my mate are looking forward to working with you and getting to know you for the upcoming future and war. As Alpha Philip has said, we will be here until tomorrow morning, but if it's okay with Alpha Philip, my mate and I would love to stay 2 days with you, I said and looked at Philip. He came next to me and said, What do you guys think? He asked his pack, and they went crazy. Then it settled. 2 days. We will host the king and queen, Alpha Philip said. Everyone dispersed, as Alpha Philip looked at me. How about we go down to my office to talk about training, and the ladies can get to know each other more, he said. Before Roe could speak, I did all due respect Alpha, but Roe is going to be a part of the training. She is one of the best fighters I have ever seen, I said, holding her hand. Philip and Regian were shocked by what I said. Then he looked at Roe. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for my ignorance. King and Queen, he said, and Roe just smiled. You don't really talk, do you? He asked. His mate elbowed him. I'm sorry for him, she said, bowed her head slightly. She will talk when she finds it necessary. Or to children, she has a soft spot for them. Same with Omegas, I said, answering his question.
Roe, we headed into Alpha Philip's office to talk about the training that starts in a few minutes. Max sat in the only open seat in front of Philip's desk, so I stood behind Max, and we got started. About halfway through, Philip said something that caught my attention. I was thinking that Roe could help with our runners. Basically, they go ahead of the main group to scout the sounding area, with getting them faster. While we work with the trackers to heighten their senses and increase their ability to track, we also need to work with our warriors to get them stronger. He said that's when I lost it, but managed to stay calm. But I know they felt my anger, and Max got up and tried to his best to calm me down. You know, Alpha Philip, I have been trying to respect you in your own pack house. However, the whole 2.5 hours that we have been here, you have been disrespecting me, assuming I was weak and couldn't fight. I said, fighting against Max. The look of pure shock is all I saw from Philip, while his mate Regian was smiling. I'm sorry, but I was only looking out for your safety, Roe, Philip said, and I glared daggers at him. From now on, I want you to call me Rory, until you make me change my opinion about you. As of right now, all I see is a man that thinks all women need to be protected and can't defend themselves. I said to him, and Regian stepped up. Philip, before you say anything, what she is saying is true. Before we were mated, I was the best tracker in my pack, and now I don't fight along my pack anymore. You never let me show you I can protect myself, and this pack just as much as you can, she said. Philip sat there not knowing what to say. I think it's time we head out to the training grounds, don't you, Philip? Ladies, Max said, and I nodded, as did Regian. As we walked out of the office, Philip spoke. I'm so very sorry to all of you. To you, Alpha King, for causing your mate Luna Queen to get angry. I'm sorry to you, Luna Queen, for disrespecting you in the ways I did. And to you, my mate, for underestimating you all these years, he said. I walked off and headed to the training grounds. Just give her time. You really upset her. I haven't seen her this mad for the half year we have been together, I heard Max tell Philip. Once I got to the training grounds, all the guys stopped and looked at me. Is she the one Alpha Philip introduced earlier? If so, I hope she's mateless, I heard one of the guys say, and I just laughed. What's so funny, sweetie? Another one said. That's when I heard it. I heard him. Max roared, causing the other wolves to submit, as he waked up to me and wrapped his arms around me. Men, this is the king and queen. They are here to help with training today and tomorrow. They leave tomorrow night, so take the advantage with them here, and train hard under them, Philip said. I will work with the trackers, and my mate will work with the warriors, for I am faster than her, and those of you who are trackers are not fast enough. My mate is one of the strongest warriors I have ever seen in all my years. Trackers, please follow me to the open field just west of here, but you will need to keep up. Max said, then left, leaving the rest to me. I looked around at the wolves. Can the head warrior please come see? I have some questions, I asked. I watched a tall and built man walk to me. When he got to me, I smiled. Hello, what is your name? I asked him. He smiled back and said, My name is Dimitri. I nodded. What can your men do as of right now? I asked. Well, speed and agility is about it, he said. I nodded. Well, we have a lot of work ahead of us. Let's get started, shall we? I said. Have them do your normal routine so I can see what needs to be changed, I said. And Dimitri nodded, telling the boys to start. I watched as they went through an obstacle course, meant to help speed and agility, so this is why they aren't as strong, I thought to myself. Luna, what do you have in mind? Reggian asked. Okay, everyone stop, I yelled, getting their attention. What is it? Dimitri asked, as he ran to my side. Do you guys have weights? And heavy sandbags? I asked. And he nodded. But we don't use them, he said. Well, now you do. Can you go get them, I said? Asked. And with that, he left. A few minutes later, he came back with weights, bars, and sandbags. All right, everyone. We will start simple. Everyone, pick up a weight of your choice and do 40 reps. Then we will continue from there. I said.
Max, when I got to the clearing, I had to wait for the others to get there. You're finally here, I said as they came into view. Will the head tracker come talk to me for a minute, please? I asked. I waited for a few seconds until I saw a tall and somewhat built man walk up to me. What's your name? I asked. I'm Carlos, he said. So you guys need to be faster, huh? I said, more to myself. All right, so I want you guys to start running for as long as you can at the fastest you can go around this field, and don't stop until I tell you to, I said. One thing all of you will learn quick. I'm not as nice as my mate, and I won't go easy on you ever, I said, and watched as they groaned but got to running. I can see why Carlos is the head tracker. He's faster than the rest. He's keeping a constant pace, and he's looping around already. I had them running like that all day unless they needed a break. When 6 o'clock came around, I had them stop and head inside for showers and dinner. When I walked into the pack house, the only thing I could think about was Ro. When I found her, she was talking to Luna Ragin and her children Steph and Lou. I walked up to them. Hey, can I talk to you in private? I asked Ro, and smiled. Sure, but where she asked, we decided to have you guys stay in the guest house, so you have more privacy, Luna Ragin said. I said thank you, and we headed that way. So what did you want to talk about? Ro asked as we stepped in. She turned around and smiled at me. I couldn't help it anymore. I walked closer and pulled her into a kiss. One thing led to another, and well, we didn't get much sleep.
Chapter 10. Ro, I woke up to find the guest house empty. I got dressed in black leggings and a tank top. When I was done, it was 8:10 a.m. As I made my way to the pack house, I was greeted by the pack wolves. When I walked in the kitchen, I saw Max talking to the head warrior and head tracker. Max and I locked eyes, and he smiled. Then he motioned for me to go to him. When I walked over to him, he introduced me to Carlos. Then he kissed me, and I kissed back instantly. I looked up to see 2 she-wolves staring at us. Hi, I say, confused as to why they are staring. Oh, sorry for staring. It's just you're so damn pretty, and to think you're our Luna Queen, one of them said. I'm sorry about her ranting. She has been dying to meet you is all, the other one said. This is my mate Claire, Dimitri said, and I smiled. This is my mate Mindy, Carlos said. I smiled. It's nice to meet you both, I said, and moved to get breakfast.
Max, once we were done with breakfast, we went out to the training grounds. All right, everyone, we are doing the same thing as yesterday, but at the end of the day, you will be tested, I said. When I was done, I took off to the field from the day before. When I got there, I had to wait for the rest of them, but not as long. All right, everyone, being where you left off yesterday, I said, only to get groans from the guys.
Philip, I'm currently watching Rory have the guys lift weights 4 times their own weight. It's clear she knows what she's doing. I walked up to her. So is this all you're going to have them do? I asked her. No, later today they will be tested to see how far they have come, she said, and I nodded. If you need anything, just let me know, I said, trying to make up for disrespecting her yesterday. That's when Regian walked up with Lou and Steph. Rory saw them and smiled. What are you guys doing here? She asked them. We wanted to see you, Steph said, hugging Rory. Lunch came around, and as I was going to tell Rory, it was ready. Max beat me to it.
Max, I saw Philip walking to Rory, and it pissed me off. Ever since yesterday he hasn't left her side, so I practically ran to her. When I got to her, I pulled her in for a kiss, and told her lunch was ready. We started walking to the pack house. Once we entered the kitchen, we were met by both trackers and warriors. I smiled at everyone and took a seat next to Carlos, and Rose sat next to me. For lunch we had something simple and easy: ham sandwiches, chips, fruit, and soda or water. After lunch we headed back out, but this time, we kept the 2 groups together. Okay, so we want you to make teams of 2, one a tracker and the other a warrior. Trackers, you're going to help the warriors get stronger, and warriors, you're going to help the trackers get faster, I said, and waited as they got teamed up. Let's get started. You are to incorporate your training from yesterday into your daily training, Rose said. This went on for a few hours. I wasn't going to have them stop for another hour. That was until Ro gave me the look and I nodded, knowing exactly what she meant. Everyone listen up, I said, getting everyone's attention. Trackers try to keep up, I said, and took off. I was surprised I looked back to see all of them tailing me. I smiled in satisfaction. Let's see if they can keep going at this rate, I thought.
Ro. When Max took off, the guys looked at me. So who's first? I asked. They just looked at me confused. Fine, I'll pick you, I said, pointing at one of the more built guys. He walked up to me slowly, not knowing what to expect. I got down into my fighting position, and he smiled, realizing what was happening. He transformed into his wolf, thinking he would have an upper hand, and we got into it. You see, the only people that has seen my wolf was my old pack before I ran. Not even Max has seen her, and I think it's time he does. The wolves and I have been at it for the past 2 or 3 hours. The sun went down a few minutes ago. When Max and the trackers came back, Dimitri and I was in the middle of our fight. Dimitri was in his wolf form. I ran for his neck, but he dodged and charged for me. I jumped, and while I was in the air, I grabbed a hold of his fur and pulled myself on top of him and put his neck in a leg lock, forcing him to transform back to his human form, and with that I won. Max and the others clapped and walked over to me as I helped Dimitri back up. Damn, you are one strong Luna, Dimitri said. Max looked at me and smiled. Hey, can I talk to you about something? I asked him. Max looked confused but nodded. I started to walk towards the forest, and Max followed after sending the guys back into the pack house. Hey, what's wrong? He asked once he caught up to me. I need to show you something, I said and turned around. Max nodded and stood there waiting for me. I backed up a little bit and started to shift. When I was in my wolf form completely, I looked up at him only so see him shift as well. He was bigger than me, but I was close to his height. I walked up to him and rubbed my head against his chest. I backed away and sat down to let him examine my wolf. When he was done circling me, he stood in front of me and licked the side of my face in acceptance to my wolf. My wolf did the same to his. I shifted back, and so did he. Why didn't you tell me you could shift, let alone how gorgeous your wolf is? Max said slasked. I shrugged. I didn't know how you would react. I was just scared of how you would act, I admitted. Max pulled me close and said, No matter what, I will always love you, he said, and I looked up at him. You love me? I asked, and he nodded. Yes, I love you, Rory, Max said, and in that moment, I knew he was telling the truth. He had never used my full name before. Now I leaned up and kissed him, to which he kissed back, and we got lost in the moment, to the point where we heard Alpha Philip and Luna Regian calling our names. We stayed like that for a minute more, then started to walk back to the pack house for dinner.
Max, when we got back to the pack house, we were stopped by Philip. I want you to meet my beta, second in command under the Alpha, and Gamma, third in command, he said. Hi, I'm Martin, his beta, he said. And I'm Sam, the Gamma, he said. It's good to meet you. I'm Max the Alpha King, and this is my mate, Rory, the Luna Queen, I said. It's a pleasure to meet you both. I would like to introduce my mate Sarah, Martin said. I saw Rose smile and extend her hand out for Sarah. I would also like to introduce my mate Eve, Sam said. And it turns out Eve is also a hugger like Regian, but Ro didn't mind. We sat down for dinner, shared some laughs, updated the Alpha, Luna, Beta, and Gamma on their warriors and trackers. Ro and I headed back to the Gust house to pack our things for the long drive ahead of us. It is currently 9:40 p.m., and we have to leave by 10 to get to the Red Crescent pack on time. We went back to the pack house to say our goodbyes to everyone and hit the road. Chapter 11. Max. We have been on the road since 10 last night. It's currently 2 a.m. Ro is passed out in the passenger seat, and she is making it difficult to drive. Every time I try to move my hand from her thigh, she starts to move around in her seat. We are almost to the next pack, the Red Crescent pack. The pack is an hour from a small town, so I decided to stop at the hotel they have. When I pull in and part, I gently wake Ro. She rolled her head to look at me. Where are we? She asked, yawning. I laughed lightly and answered her question. We are an hour away from the next pack at a hotel. She nodded her head. Answered, sat up. I want to get some sleep before we get there, I said, getting out of the car. Ro followed my lead and grabbed her suitcase from the back seat. After we got checked into our room for the night, I took a shower, and Ro went back to sleep. I joined her after my shower and set an alarm for 7.
Ro, I woke up to the alarm going off. I looked at the time. It was 7 a.m. I looked around looking for Max. I got up and found him in the bathroom. Good morning, I said, and kissed him. Max kissed back and smiled. You ready? He asked. Nope, I want to shower and eat before we get on the road again, I said as I walked away to grab my clothes. I heard Max laugh and start the shower. I jumped in and took a quick one. When I got out, Max had already had our bags packed and ready to go. I smiled at his eagerness. We made it to the lobby and checked out. As we were leaving the town, we stopped by a Waffle House and got breakfast to go. That hour ride went by faster than I thought, because before I knew it, we were pulling up to the pack house. It was huge. Max got out of the car before I did and greeted the pack Alpha and Luna. A few minutes later, one of the pack Omegas opened my door for me. This is my mate Rory, I heard Max say, and I smiled. I walked over to them. Hi, I would like to welcome you to the Red Crescent pack. I'm Alpha Jacob. Alpha Jacob said. I smiled and shook his hand. Hello, I'm Luna Mia. Our kids are at school, so you will meet them later, she said, then turned to lead us into the pack house. Alpha Jacob smiled and motioned for us to follow them. He made his speech, and we made our way into his office. His pack doesn't need that much training, so we decided to just have them run their normal workout routines, but we are going to push them more. We made our way to the training grounds expecting not a wolf in sight, but to our surprise, all of them were out working together, pushing each other, both trackers and warriors. I felt Max get excited. Then he looked at me. This is going to fun, he said through our link. I smiled and nodded, then looked back at the wolves. That's when I spotted a very short she-wolf. I looked over at Max to see if he sees her too, and sure enough he does. He gives me the same look I had given him, the look of pure confusion. That's when I had spoken up. Who is that? I asked the Alpha and Luna as I pointed at her. Jacob and Mia looked at who I was asking about and smiled. Oh, that would be my head warrior's mate, Andrea. She's very strong, and she is one of the only she-wolves we have that can shift, Jacob said. I smiled. I'm not the only one, I said to Max through our link, and he smiled. I called Andrea over. When she heard me, she looked up from the wolf she was currently fighting. We locked eyes, and I smiled. She stared to make her way over, when a wolf's howl could be heard. It sounded like it was coming from every direction. Max was pushing me behind him when they appeared. Rouges, Lunas, please get inside now, Alpha Jacob said. Luna Mia instantly ran for the pack house, but not me. I looked at Max and nodded. He knew I wasn't going anywhere, and he knew better not to fight me on this, so he just groaned and got ready to fight, as I did the same. The warriors and trackers jumped into action, and the fight began. All the guys had shifted and jumped in, including Max and Jacob. One of the Rouges charged at me, and I jumped into the air, causing him to crash into the workout equipment that was being me. I took the chance and wrapped my arms around his neck and held him there until his body went limp. I looked up, only to be met by another Rouge. I got tackled by him. When I got tackled, he scratched my arm, I pushed him off of me, and dug my claws in his neck. I heard Max struggling. I started to scan over everyone looking for him. When my eyes landed on him, I felt nothing but pure rage. A Rouge was on top of him, and his teeth was just centimeter from Max's neck. The next thing I know, I'm in my wolf form, charging for this Rouge. I push him off of Max and land on top of him, ripping his head from his body. When I get up, I drop his head and walk over to Max. I rub my body against his and get back to fighting. A few minutes pass, and I hear Max. "He's dead. Your alpha is dead. Leave before you follow his fate," he says, and what was left of the Rouges run. Everyone shifts as I walk over to Max, who hands me his shirt, and I go behind a tree, along with Andrea, and shift. When she realizes it's me, she smiles and hugs me. "I thought I was the only one," she said. I nodded. "So did I. Let's get back to everyone," I said and smiled. I followed her out of the woods. All I saw was shocked faces as I stood there under everyone's eyes. "Our Luna Queen is a badass. Let's go," one of the wolves said, and the rest started going crazy. I locked eyes with Max, and he smiled. We headed back into the pack house. "I think that was good training for today," Max said, and I nodded agreeing. "You guys can have rest of the day off," I said, causing everyone to get excited all over again. I headed to the guest house to get dressed. I put on jeans and a black tank top, then headed back to the pack house. It was currently 6 p.m. "Damn, time flies by when you're having fun," Max said through our link. I looked at him and rolled my eyes. "Come one, let's eat," he said, and I agreed. When I sat down, I was ambushed with question after question. I decided not to hold out on them, and I told them my childhood story, and after we just sat and talked about random stuff. At one point, I decided it was time for bed, so I headed back to the guest house, took a shower, and passed out. If I'm being honest, I don't remember Max ever coming to bed, but I woke up in the middle of the night with his arms wrapped around me. I snuggled closer to him and went back to sleep.
Chapter 12. Max. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache. I rolled over expecting Ro to be there, but she wasn't. I sat up to look around the room for her, but she was nowhere in the room. I checked the time, and it was 10:30. I groaned and forced myself out of bed. I put on some sweats and a muscle shirt, then made my way downstairs. When I made it to the kitchen, I saw Alpha Jacob. "Hey man, you don't look so hot," he said. I nodded and said, "Yeah, I have a migraine," and sat next to him. "Let me see if I can find you some medicine so you can join Luna Rory out on the training grounds, Alpha," Jacob said, and got up. A few minutes later, he came back with some ibuprofen and gave it to. I took 2 and waited for it to kick in before heading outside. When I finally made my way outside, I instantly looked for Ro. When I finally found her, she was training with the others just as I was about to go to her Alpha Jacob, and Luna Mia walked out. They spotted me right away. "Hey, Alpha Max, I would like to introduce you to my children, and my Beta and Gamma," he said. I smiled and nodded my head as they walked up to me. I saw his kids walk up first. "Hi, I'm Alpha Max. And what's your name?" I said. "Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is my twin Carla," Charlie said, and shook my hand. "You are very mature, I must say," I said, and he smiled. "Well, as the future Alpha, I have to be," he replied. "And who is this?" I asked. "I'm Beth," the little one said, and I smiled. I looked back up at the Alpha. "Hi, Alpha, I'm Chris, the Beta, and this is my beautiful mate Isabella," Chris said. I smiled and shook both of their hands. "Hello, Alpha, I'm Brett the Gamma, and this wonderful woman is my mate Noelle," Brett said. I smiled and shook both of their hands. The head warrior Andrew and the head tracker Reese came over to us. You know your mate is amazing, they said in unison. I smiled and nodded. Yeah, trust me, I know, I said, looking at her training. Ro looked up and we locked eyes. A wolf ran at her, and she dodged him and started to laugh. You really thought you could get me? I heard her say. Then I started to laugh. I heard Andrea talking to Andrew. He loves her with his whole heart, she said. And Andrew replied with, yeah, you can see it in the way he looks at her. I smiled, knowing they were telling the truth. I flagged Ro over and watched as she ran to me. When she got to me, she practically jumped on me. I smiled and kissed her. She kissed back instantly. She saw the twins and Beth, and she practically ran to them. Hi, I'm Luna Rory, but you can call me Ro, she said, and smiled. After the kids introduced them to her, they gave her the biggest hug. Thank you for helping protect our home yesterday, Charlie and Carla said. Yeah, what you did was amazing, Chris said, and Brett nodded in agreement. I'm just happy I'm not the only she-wolf that can shift, Andrea said, and Ro smiled. Ro got back to training, and I decided to start getting our things ready to leave later tonight. It is now 11:35, and I'm hoping to be done before lunch. I started with my things, which is easier due to me having less. It took me 5 minutes to pack my things, but Rose, on the other hand, took damn near an hour. I left out an outfit for her, which consisted of black sweatpants and a black crop top. I also left out a pair of clean socks for her. I checked the time, and it was way past lunch. It was 2 in the afternoon.
Ro, I decided to go for a run with Andrea after training was done. When I shifted, she was still surprised by how big my wolf was and my fur's color. Andrea was smaller than me, which I kind of figured. Her wolf was a natural brown with hints of black. We went for an hour run, and by time we got back, it was 3:15. After we shifted and changed back into our clothes, we headed inside to help get ready for dinner. I saw Max and went over to him. He wrapped his arm around me and sniffed me. You stink, he said, and laughed. I playfully hit him and smiled fine. But can I at least get a kiss? I asked. Max nodded and I leaned down and we kissed. I left clothes out for you and packed the rest of our things for tonight, Max said through our link. And I smiled. Once I got to the guest house, I headed for our room. I saw the clothes he left out, black sweats, and a black crop top. I took a shower that felt amazing. After I got out and dressed, I headed to the pack house for dinner. It took me a few minutes to get back. When I did, I sat next to Max and Andrea. A few minutes later, a girl I haven't seen walked in. Hi everyone, sorry I'm late, she said, and sat next to Reese. You guys, this is my mate Maddie, Reese said. I smiled and introduced myself. When we were done eating, everyone just sat around talking dough a few more hours. Andrea, Mia, Maddie, and I all went outside for some fresh air and just to have a little bit of girl time before I left in an hour or so. So are you planning on having any kids of your own? I looked at her shocked and she just smiled. The other two started to laugh. I shook my head. I never really thought about it. You know, with the war and everything, I admitted looking down. Hey, it's time, Max said through our link. I looked at the girls and said, it's time. They nodded their heads, and we started to walk back inside. Once we entered, I saw our bags at the front door and everyone waiting. As I walked to the door, everyone was saying their goodbyes to me. When I got to the door, the twins and Beth ran up to me and hugged my waist and legs. I smiled and looked down. Don't worry, we will see each other soon, I promise, I said, and hugged them back. I said final byes to the girls, then we left. When we got in the car, I checked the time. It is currently 9:45 p.m. I looked over at Max, and he put his hand on my thigh as we drove away from the Red Crescent pack. Which pack is next? I asked, and he smiled. Next we have the Shadow Pack, Max said, and I smiled. Chapter 13. Ro, I woke up to Max gently shaking me awake. When I opened my eyes, I realized we were pulling up to the Shadow Pack. The only difference with this one, they had a gate with warriors standing watch. When we pulled up to the warrior, Max rolled his window down. Name, the warrior said. Alpha King and Luna Queen, Max said in a monotone voice. I saw the warrior visibly freak out. I'm sorry. Please enter. he said, and motioned for the gate to open. Once we pulled up to the pack house as normal, Max got out first to meet the Alpha and Luna. I saw Max open my door and I stepped out. The Alpha and Luna smiled when they saw me. "It's a pleasure to meet you," the Alpha said. "I'm Carson, and this is my mate, Sophia." Alpha Carson said. I smiled and shook his hand, and like many of the Lunas, Sophia went for a hug, and me being me, I embraced her. While we were talking, 2 Omegas came to take our things to the guest house. As we walked into the pack, 2 boys came to us. "Mom, Dad, who are our guests?" One of them said. "Hi, I'm Rory. I'm the Luna Queen," I said, and smiled. "And I'm Max, the Alpha King," Max said. Both boys' eyes got wide. "I'm so sorry for my stupidity," one of them said, while the other nodded in agreement. I smiled and said it's okay, no need to apologize. They both nodded their heads. "I'm Dylan, and this is my brother Lucas," Dylan said. "And how old are you?" I asked. "I'm 16, and he is 17, Lucas said. I smiled and nodded. Carson and Sophia motioned for us to follow them. They took us the training grounds. To our surprise, only the warriors were training. "Where are the trackers?" Max asked, and Alpha Carson pointed to the open field. Max nodded his head. "Do you want to work with the trackers or warriors?" he asked the trackers. "I am one after all." I said, "Okay, I'll see you soon." "I love you," he said, and I smiled. "I love you too." I kissed him and walked towards the trackers.
Carson. They love each other so much. They remind me of Norman and Nellie. They are enveloped with one another. I was so happy they got out of that damned pack when they did. They actually started their own, with some of the wolves from their old pack. They also took in some rogues that wanted a second chance at pack life. "I'm going to head over to Rory with the boys," I said to Max and Sophia. When I turned around to get the boys, they weren't there. I looked towards the trackers, and there they were already. They are already attached to the Luna Queen, which is a good thing. When I got to her, she was talking to our head tracker, Austin. "Okay, so let's have them run the perimeter of the territory twice for a start, before training." And after I heard her say, "Damn, can she even do that?" I thought to myself. They rounded up all the guys. "Okay, everyone, new training starts today, so before and after training, we will run the perimeter twice to start. Well, since this is the first break of the morning, we will run the perimeter twice and then again in 35 minutes when we start back up," Austin said, and all you could hear was them complaining and groaning. "Hey, do you want to get faster? Do you want to get stronger? Yes, good. This is how you start. By running the perimeter twice before and after training, it will help build muscle, and it will help you gain speed over time. So stop complaining and get to running. Before any of you ask, yes, I'm going to run with you, but we will do this with a twist," she said with an evil smile on her face. "Geez, I feel bad for them, but I'm curious as to what this twist is."
After I told them why I'm having them run the perimeter twice, I told them to get started. I asked Austin to open his link between him and the guys with me so I can hear what they are saying. He gladly gave me permission. When the guys were gone, it was just me, Alpha Carson, and his boys. I winked at them and went behind a tree to undress and shift. When I came out, I could see the shock written all over their faces. "So this was the twist," Alpha Carson said, and I nodded my head. I tuned into the link with the guys, only to hear them complaining that I'm not with them and that they have to run the entire territory perimeter. I laughed inwardly and took off. I caught up in no time and linked Austin to look in the tree line because he was at the front leading the guys. I was watching them run, and Austin and I made eye contact. When he saw me, he almost tripped over his own feet. I couldn't contain my laughter. I told him to warn the others. "Okay, everyone, whatever you do, don't freak out or attack." "Got it," Austin said, and all the guys gave him a confused yeah. Austin signaled to me okay, and that's when I came out of the woods and joined them. I took the lead by a huge gap. "Who the hell is that?" I heard one of them say. "That would be the Luna Queen," Austin replied. The run lasted a few minutes, more like 30. When we got back to the training ground, the trackers went get some water. I was still in wolf form, and I was walking up to the tree where I had shifted, but my clothes were gone. I was about to freak out until I heard his voice looking for something Max said through our link, and I looked at him through the tree line, and I saw him holding my clothes and laughing. "Come get them from me, love," he said in the link. I saw someone walk up next to him, and it happened to be Alpha Carson and Austin. "They told me what you were up to, my little wolf," he said, and smirked. I growled at him. Max being Max, he clicked his tongue at me and shook his head. "It's not nice to growl at the man who is completely inevitably in love with you," he said with the biggest smirk on his face. I had enough, and charged for him not caring of the rest of the pack saw me, because at this point, everyone was outside watching the warriors train. I could feel all eyes on me at this point, and Max's smile just got bigger and bigger. One of the wolves attempted to intervene with me getting to Max, but Max let out a guttural growl, stopping any movement but mine, and he just laughed, knowing damn well his growl or alpha tone won't work on me. When I was about to tackle him, he moved out of the way, which pissed me off more, because he still had my clothes. I ran for him again, and this time he let me tackle him. I don't know why, but he did. "Do you want your clothes back, love?" he asked, and that's when it everyone. I was the Luna Queen, causing everyone to back down. "Here are your clothes," my sweet Max said, and handed them out to me. I carefully reached for them and actually grabbed them, and I took off behind a tree to shift and change. When I emerged from the tree line, I walked straight up to Max. "That was not funny," I said, and he just smiled and shrugged. "It was a little bit," he said. We were told that lunch was ready, so we went into the pack house. When we entered, we were greeted by the Beta and Gamma. "Hi, my name is Nate, and I'm the Beta. This is my mate Amber," Nate said. "It's so good to meet you. I hope we can be really good friends," Amber said, and I nodded, agreeing. "Hello, I'm Cole the Gamma, and this beautiful woman is my mate," Leah Cole said and shook my hand. "Hi, I can't believe I'm actually meeting the Luna Queen in the flesh," Leah said, and hugged me. I hugged her back, and we laughed. We sat down for lunch and continued to talk about random things, and somehow my first pack and where I came from came up. I didn't feel the need to hide anything, so I told them what my life before Max was like. I would like to introduce my mate, and my twin Austin said. I nodded and waited for him to continue. "This is my mate Anna, and my twin Adam," Austin said. I smiled and reached my hand out for both of them. Adam took it, but Anna wanted a hug, which I gladly gave. "This is a dream. Is this real? I could never imagine meeting the Luna Queen," Anna said. "It's an honor to meet you, Luna Queen. I'm Adam, and this is my mate Jayla," Adam said. "It's so nice to meet you," Jayla said, hugging me. I smiled and made room for both girls to sit next to me while we finished lunch. The guys headed back out before me, which I was completely okay with. I sat there for a little bit too long, because before we know it, it's completely dark out. Max walks back in to find me still talking with the mates of the head tracker, head warrior, Beta, Gamma, and Alpha. He shakes his head and laughs at us. "Well, I guess we should get ready for dinner," I said, laughing with the girls. I followed Max to the guest house. "It's good to see you getting along with the other girls that have an impact in the packs," he said, kissing me. I smiled and shrugged my shoulders. "What can I say? I'm just a likable person," I said, smiling from ear to ear. "Smartass," Max said, and I rolled my eyes at him. "Go shower, you stink," I said playfully. After his shower, I took a quick one and changed into comfy clothes. We walked back to the pack house and joined everyone for dinner. When we entered the dining room, all eyes went to us for a second. We sat next to Alpha Carson and Luna Sophie and started to eat. We sat, ate, and talked for what seemed like hours, but it was really just 1 hour. After that, Max and I made our way to the guest house to get some sleep.
Chapter 14. Max. I woke in the middle of the night to Ro screaming. I tried to wake her up, but nothing was working, so I just held her close to me. A few minutes go by with her just twisting in my arms. When she finally woke up and realized she was safe, she broke down in tears. She buried her face in my chest and cried for a good amount of time. I looked over at the time. I didn't realize it was 2 a.m. I thought to myself, "You're okay, it's me," I said, pulling her closer. I kissed her forehead and waited for her to speak. When she finally spoke, all she said was sorry. I looked down at her and said, "You have nothing to say sorry for, but can you tell me what happened?" I said, asked. Ro nodded, then spoke once more. "I had a nightmare about my old pack is all. In my old pack, I was labeled as an Omega, due to the fact that my parents got killed in a rogue attack. Some nights I relived the day they died," she said, and started crying again. It hurt me to see her like this, in pain and scared of what happened to her. "Please promise me I won't lose you the way I lost them," she said, and all I could say was, "I promise. Now let's go back to sleep." "Okay," she nodded, and drifted off back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later to find Ro still curled up in my arms, and asleep. I stayed there a few more minutes, contemplating what to do. Then I got an idea. I managed to get out of bed without waking her up, took a shower, and left a note telling her to get some sleep and come to the training grounds after lunch, and only if she's up for it. I then left the guest house and made my way to the pack house, telling the girls and everyone else Ro won't be joining us until after lunch because she doesn't feel good. Everyone understood and got to training after they had breakfast.
Ro. When I woke up, I looked at the time only to see that it was 1:10, just a little bit after lunch. I hurriedly got out of bed and got dressed, but as I went to grab my watch from the bedside table, I saw Max's note. After I read it, I smiled and headed to the training grounds. When I saw him, I wrapped my arms around him from behind. "Feeling better?" he asked as he held my hand. "Yeah," I said, and walked around the front of him with my back leaned against him. That's when I noticed the trackers and warriors training together. Did they run the 2 laps around the perimeter? I asked Max. "No, they actually ran 4 to surprise you," he said, and I smiled. "Did you tell them in this morning?" I asked, feeling embarrassed. "No, that's personal matters. Only the 2 of us need to know. I just told them that you didn't feel good, so you would be joining us after lunch," Max admitted. I smiled at the thought of my mate being protective of me in the way that he is. I looked up at Max, causing him to look down at me. "What is it?" he asked. I smiled. "I love you," is all I said. Max smiled and said, "I love you too, more than you can ever know," and he kissed my forehead. I looked back to the guys training, and that was when I saw Dylan and Lucas training as well. "What are they doing?" I asked Max. They insisted they could keep up, so I told them to prove it to me, and well, they did, he said. I rolled my eyes and kept an eye on them to make sure they didn't get hurt.
"Carson, I walked out of the pack house with Sophie to see Rory in Max's arms on the training ground. Sophie practically ran to Rory. Are you okay? I was worried about you," Sophia said /asked. Rory nodded as she held a smile, and Sophie dragged her away to meet up with the other girls. "I'm guessing. I moved to stand next to Max, so how is she doing?" I asked. "She's fine. She just needed a little more sleep. She's not used to being on the road for so long," Max said, keeping his eyes on the guys training. I nodded my head in understanding. "So how are the boys doing? Any improvements?" I asked. Max looked at me for once. This entire conversation they are doing good. They even made a lot of improvement, but they need to keep up with this training, especially the trackers. They have improved the most thanks to Ro, he said, turning back to watch the guys. From the corner of my eye, I saw Rory and Sophie walking back over to us. Rory stood back in Max's arms, and Sophie mine. "They remind me a lot of Nellie and Norman," I said to Sophie through our link, and she nodded in agreement.
"Max, so what pack is next on your list?" Alpha Carson asked. I looked at Ro, who was now looking at me and ready to hear who was next. I smiled and answered Carson. "The Black Paw Pack," I said, and his face lit up. "Really? The Alpha and Luna are really good friends of mine," he said with a smile. We stayed out training longer tonight than the previous days. As we were picking up the equipment, I asked Ro if she wanted to go for a run. She got excited and took off into the tree line without me. By time I got to her, she had already shifted. She waited for me to shift, and once I did, she walked over to me. Her wolf showed her neck to mine, submitting and showing her mate respect. My wolf rubbed his head along her side before taking off into the woods. We ran for a good 30 to 35 minutes before we came up on a small pond in an open area. We decided to lay there for a few minutes taking in the moon. I practically had to drag her back to the pack house because, like it or not, it was almost time to get back on the road and head for the Black Paw Pack. We had been out for almost 2 hours, so it was time for us to get back. We had decided to sleep on the road, so that meant we had to eat, pack, and that would leave us with only 3 hours before we had to leave. After we changed back and got dressed, we headed to the pack house. Everyone was still up. I looked at my watch to see it was almost 8. Shit, I cursed to myself, but Ro felt my frustration. "What is it?" she asked. "It's almost 8. We have to leave by 10, I said. I could see the wheels turning in her head. "How about we eat, then pack together, and that should still give us enough time to visit for a little bit more, and say goodbye. Then once on the road we can drive halfway there and find somewhere to sleep, then drive rest of the way," she said and smiled. "Well, let's see. The Black Paw Pack is 6 hours away. So we can drive the first 3, then stop and sleep at a hotel around 1 o'clock, get up at 6:20, leave by 7 o'clock, then drive the rest of the way there. And we should get there on time," I said, and she nodded, agreeing with me. "Okay, now, that's taken care of. Let's eat," Rose said, and we made our way to the kitchen. After we ate, we made our way to the guest house to our things packed. And just like she had said, it only took a few minutes compared to an hour. Once we were done packing, we brought our bags to the car and went in for the remaining time we had with everyone.
Ro, I was sitting with the girls, keeping an eye on the time. It was currently 9:30. "I don't want you to leave, Amber," and Leah said in unison. I laughed and nodded in agreement. "So are you excited to got to the Black Paw Pack?" Sophie asked, and I shrugged. "I mean, yes, of course I am, but I always have the fear of the Luna not liking me." I admitted to them. "Oh, please, the Luna will love you. I know that for a fact," Sophie said, and I smiled. I saw Max get up, and I knew it was time for us to go. I said my goodbyes, promising we would see each other again soon, before climbing into our car and driving away from my new friends. Once we were in the car, Max noticed I was sad about leaving, but he reminded me that I would see all of them in just a few short weeks. I smiled and got comfortable for the next 3 hours.
Chapter 15. Max. It is currently 12:50 a.m., and we are coming up to our exit. I start to gently nudge Ro with one hand, keeping the other on the wheel. She groans and pushes my hand away. I started to nudge her again as I was taking the exit. When I finally got her up, we were in the small town just off the exit. We stopped at a gas station to get drinks and something small to eat, which we ate in the car. When we were done, we found a hotel and checked in. When we got up to our room, Ro put her stuff down and laid on the bed. I pulled out her pajamas from her suitcase and changed her clothes for her, then put her under the covers. I made my way to the bathroom for a quick shower, then I hit the bed.
Ro, when I woke up this morning, Max was nowhere to be found. I got up and looked around the room, but still nothing. "Hey, where are you?" I asked him through our link. "I'm in the lobby. We are about to leave," he responded back through our link. I looked at the clock to see it was 6:50 a.m. I got up and practically ran to the shower. When I was done, Max was waiting for me in the room with our things packed. I wore black jeans, a black tank top, with a white half-zip jacket and white Nikes. "This is going to be the last pack we visit, so we will be here longer than 2 days," Max said, and I nodded. We grabbed our bags and left. We checked out and hit the road. I can't believe this is going to be the last pack we visit. I'm excited but terrified at the same time. 3 hours came and went so slowly, it felt like time came to a halt. When we finally arrived, I realized we were in the middle of the woods, pulling up to the Black Paw Pack. There was something familiar about this pack, but I don't know what. When we pulled up the pack house, I beat Max out the car first and grabbed our things. "Hello, Alpha King and Luna Queen," the Alpha said, and I froze. Max looked at me worried as we locked eyes. I finished turning around, only to be brought to tears. "Norman?" I asked, looking him up and down. He looked just as shocked as I did. "Ro?" he asked, and I nodded my head, and we embraced each other. I didn't want to let go until I heard a low but powerful growl. Instinctively, I moved, ready to fight. Norman stepped in front of a she-wolf, who I can only assume is his mate. "Don't, it's her," Norman said to his mate. She peeked around him, then started crying. When I saw who it was, I ran to her, and we fell to the ground in a hug. "It's been so long, how are you?" I asked. But before she could answer, Max cleared his throat. I looked up at him, only to see his confused face. We stood, and I walked over to Max. "Max, these are my two best friends from my old pack, Norman and Nellie," I said, looking back at them. When Max looked back to them, he smiled. "So you two are the ones that helped keep my mate alive?" he asked. "Yes, and you're welcome," Nellie said, and pulled me into a hug again. "Well, we heard that you are only going to stay for 2 days," Norman said, looking sad. I shook my head. "No, but let Max speak. We are going to stay for a few days and help out." "I also would like to talk to you, Alpha Norman, Alpha to Alpha, about something Max said," and he sounded serious about this. Nellie and I looked at each other, then back at the guys. Norman nodded, before speaking up, of course. "Ladies, why don't you two catch up? Alpha Max, please follow me to my office," Norman said, only getting a nod from Max before they walked into the pack house. I looked at Nellie and smiled, then we busted out laughing. "So, how long have you and Norman been mates?" I asked, smiling. She smiled back, interlacing our arms as we walked inside. "Well, we found out the night you left, so a year, or almost a year," she said, waving to some of her pack members. I nodded, then looked to the floor. "I hate to ask, but how did you and Norman become Alpha and Luna of a pack?" I asked. She smiled and said, "I thought you would never ask. Well, you see, all our pack members used to be Rouge, and they needed a home, and well, a week after you left Norman, and I did too. It has gotten bad over there, Ro. It wasn't the same after you left. When you did, Alpha Marcus went nuts, saying of how the ranks are stupid, and if anyone shifts, he needs to know who, and they must sign a paper agreeing to not leave, and a bunch of other stupid crap," Nellie said, as a wolf came running to her Luna. "Nellie, come quick," he said. "Victor, what is it? And why are you out of breath?" she asked. "Luna, please hurry. We are under attack," he said. And before he could get anything else out, Norman and Max were by our sides as we ran out the pack house.
Max, Norman, and I were in his office on the 3rd floor, talking about us working together to get rogues a second chance at a pack and finding their mates. Norman was mid-sentence when we stopped. Then the look on his face completely changed. "Alpha Max, do you mind lending us a helping hand?" he asked. I take he saw the confusion on my face, so he continued. "We are under attack, and well, my pack can fend them off. But not for long. We are small, but big enough to cause some damage," he said, standing. I nodded and stood, following him downstairs. I could tell Ro knew what was happening, due to her stance. Norman and I made our way next to them. All 4 of us shared a look, then ran for the front door ready to fight. Once we made it outside, we were met by wolves in human and shifted forms. Blood was already everywhere. Norman was the first to act, with Nellie following soon behind him. I glanced over at Ro, only for our eyes to meet. I pulled her close and kissed her, then whispered, "Come back to me, please," in her ear. She nodded and kissed me again, then we went our separate ways in this massacre. A few minutes go by. I take a second to look around. I spot Norman fighting 3 rogues. I was about to go help when I got tackled. When I hit the ground, I got up as fast as I could. Sorry, I think I hit him too hard. Nellie, yelling, running in the opposite direction. I shook my head and got back to work. I managed to take out 6 before I felt a slight pain in my side. I ran to Norman and Nellie, who were having a difficult time with one of the stronger ones. I charged for him and ripped his head from his shoulders. I looked over at Nellie and Norman. "Where is she?" I asked, using my alpha tone. They nodded their heads. "We don't know. We were about to go look for her," Norman said. "Stay here and finish them. I'm going look for her," I said, taking off following her scent. I was led to the back of the pack house. She was fighting the rogues Alpha. It was only until the wind blew their scents my direction. It was blood mixed in. I scanned over him, seeing if he had any injuries. He had a few, but he wasn't bleeding. At this point, I don't know what to do. I can't tell if she needs help or not. I'm watching the fight when he literally throws Ro at me. I catch her, and fear shoots through me. She won't move. I gently shake her, and she opens her eyes and smiles. "Hey, do you think you can finish him?" "I need a break," she said, and closes her eyes again. I gently shook her again. and once again, she opens her eyes. Please, don't close your eyes, and I'll finish this as soon as I can. I promise, I said, and she shook her head and smiled. I laid her down and let my wolf take over. With my anger on the surface and my wolf in control, the alpha was dead within minutes. When he didn't get back up, I ran to Rojo. I picked her up bridal style and made my way to Norman and Nellie.
Nellie, I saw Max walk around the corner talking to Ro. He was carrying her, so I was a little worried. Norman and I jogged up to them, but when we got close, I saw Max was crying. When I looked at Ro, all I could see was how bloody her shirt was, along with her hand. I lifted her shirt, causing Ro to wince, and move closer to Max if that's possible. Her stomach was messed up. She had wolf claw-shaped scratches all over her rib cages. Pack doctor now was all Norman said. He ran ahead telling wolves to get out of the way. When we got to the pack doctor, he did what he could, but we didn't have enough supplies to keep her alive longer than 3 days. After we told Max he lost it, he broke down. I can't lose her. I only had her for a short time, he said through his cries. A few minutes later, he composed himself. Okay, here's what we are going to do, he started. You only have enough to keep her alive for 3 days, right? He asked, and we nodded. Okay, so the drive back to our territory is a 2 days drive with no stops. 3 days drive if I stop once or twice to sleep. So, we need to get her to our territory. The doctor will ride with me to keep her stable, while the rest of you and your pack follow me, Max said, and we just stared in shock. The rumors were true. When he's in terrible situations, he never gives up no matter what, and he finds a way around it even if the outcome is against him. Norman and I nodded and told everyone to get their things. We are leaving in 5 minutes. Max left before us and sent Norman the directions to his territory. I can't believe this is happening, I said as I put my bags in our car and left with the pack following us. Norman put his hand on my thigh and gave me a reassuring look. He won't let her die. I saw it in his eyes, he said, and I nodded. I'm going to take a nap. Wake me up when we stop, I said, and Norman nodded.
Max, I left around 11:30 a.m., and I don't plan on stopping until I get her home, and to Michelle, my pack doctor. I look at her through the review mirror and catch the doctor's gaze, and he smiled. I'm sorry I didn't get your name, I said, and waited for his response. I'm Joseph, he said, and smiled. I nodded and focused back on the road. Throughout the drive, I looked back at Ro to make sure she was okay, and before I know it, the sun went down, but I wasn't stopping anytime soon. Look, I'm not trying to be rude, but it's midnight. You need to sleep, Joseph said from the back. Yeah, no thanks. Not until she is okay, I said. I drove for a few more hours. When I finally looked at the time, it was 4 a.m. If you won't sleep, then at least let me drive, Joseph said. I looked back at him and Ro and pulled over. We switched seats. He got in the front and I got in the back with Ro and put her head on my lap. So where am I going? He asked. I looked up and pointed at the GPS, and he nodded. I ended up falling asleep at some point because when I woke up, we were in the city that led to my pack. I sat up and looked to Joseph. I stopped when the sun came up and gave her more medicine and changed her bandages, he said, and I smiled and nodded. An hour later, we stopped and switched spots again. I drove rest of the way. By time we got to the house, it was dark out. When I got up to the gate, it was already open. I mind-linked my uncle and told him to get Michelle to the pack doors now. All he said was okay. I pulled up and didn't bother to park right. I turned off my car and got Ro carrying her bridal style. I walked into the house, slamming the door open, getting everyone's attention. Within seconds, the council came running. Where is Michelle? I asked, and he came forth. When he saw Ro, he jumped into action, and we took her to the hospital section, the pack grounds. After he got her stable in a bed, he looked at her stomach. The moment he did, his eyes shot to me. She won't be able to heal this on her own. I will need to stitch her up and then go from there. In the morning, he said, and I nodded. I kissed her forehead and left the room, letting him work. I made my way to the kitchen. All eyes were on me. Alpha, there's a pack here saying you told them to follow you. One of my guards mind-linked me. I told him to let them through, and within minutes, they came running in. Norman and Nellie came straight to me with questioning eyes. She's in surgery, I said, looking down, and Nellie hugged me, while Norman patted my back. I looked over at the council. I sighed and made my way over, and sat next to Jeremy. I looked up and started telling them what happened from Ro and I arriving at Norman and Nellie's pack. When I was done, no one said anything, just letting all of it sink in. I stood up, and Jeremy hugged me. Then one by one, each member of the council came hug me. I'm going to sleep. Come wake me up when Michelle is done, I said, and headed up to me and Ro's room. When I got to my room, I went take a shower, then went to our closet. When I saw her clothes, I started to cry again, from fear I won't be able to see her again, or see her smile, hear her laugh, hold her, feel her warmth, or to just be in her presence. I grabbed one of her hoodies and hugged it. Things will never be the same, will they? I put her hoodie back, put on some black sweats, and headed to bed.
Chapter 16. Ro. After the fight, everything went black. I could hear everything, but I couldn't move or talk. I felt someone gently pick me up and start walking. It was Max that I knew for a fact. Their voices were very familiar, but I couldn't remember from where or who. At this point, I'm trying to move or talk, to do anything, but I can't, and I'm getting aggravated. I heard the people talking about taking me home, and I got excited. Just the thought of being back home made me happy. I could feel them pulling me in the car, and the times the driver and person with me switched spots. The first time they switched, and when the other person sat with me, I just knew it was Max by the way he held my head, and well, the mate bond.
Max. It was in the middle of the night, and I was woken up by knocking on my room door. I slipped out of bed and made my way to the door. When I opened it, I was greeted by Michel. His face wasn't one I wanted to see. You told me to come get you if there were any changes, right? He asked. Said. I cocked my head to the side. No. I said, come get me when she wakes up. I said, anger, very apparent in my tone. He motioned for me to follow him, so I closed my door and walked with him down to the hospital. When we got to his office, he told me to sit down, as he started to flip through some paperwork, I assume is Rose. He gave me a stern look before speaking. Well, she made it through the surgery. She will be fine. The only thing that concerns me is the fact that she got injured by a rogue alpha. As you know, an injury from one of them does more damage, he said. I looked at him in disbelief. So, what are you saying exactly? I asked. He looked me dead in my eyes before the words that will change her left his mouth. She may never shift again, or have a connection with her wolf side. It didn't seem real. Ro may never be the same when she wakes up. Can I see her? I asked. Michelle nodded and led me to the room she was in. When I walked in, I started crying. She was hooked up to all types of machines. She had a tube coming out of her mouth and 3 different eyes. I walked up to her and gently kissed her forehead. I promised to protect you, and I couldn't even do that, I whispered to her. I heard Michelle leave and close the door. I sat there for the rest of the day, skipping breakfast and lunch. Norman brought me dinner. He stayed for a little bit to be with her, and just in case I needed something or someone, I guess. A few weeks have passed since Ro has been asleep. I don't know what to do no matter how hard I try to wake her. Nothing seems to be working. After eating dinner, I decided to go visit her and just talk and see if anything would change. I've been sitting with her for 3 hours. At this point, I don't know if she will ever wake up. I kiss her on her forehead before getting up to leave. When I make it to the door, I look back at her and watch as her head slowly turns towards me. Leaving already, she asks, and smiles. I ran to her side, calling the doctor. A few seconds go by, and Michel comes running in. What is it? Did something happen? He asks frantically. I looked up and smiled. I didn't need to say anything for him to know she was awake. He made his way over to us and smiled when he saw you look at him. He took the breathing tube out and gave her some water. How are you? Are you in any pain? Michelle asked, and Ro nodded her head no. Michelle took the next hour running test and just making sure everything was going right. Michelle pulled me out of the room. It doesn't look like her wolf is there. I think I don't need to say what this means for her future, he said, looking down. Okay, so, shit, this is fucked. Don't tell her. I will tell her when I think she can handle it, I said, before walking back into her room.
Ro, when I woke up, something was off, but I couldn't figure it out and it killed me. I can't believe I'm alive. I looked down at my stomach, and it was wrapped with blood bleeding through. Dr. Michel came running in, and when we locked eyes, he smiled. The next hour, he ran a lot of tests. When he was done, he said I will be okay, but I didn't feel okay. When Max walked back in, I told him I wanted to go say hi to everyone. Okay, but just know that the council is here, along with Norman and Nellie's pack, he said, holding his hand out to me. I took it, and we made our way to the pack house. When we got there, I could feel everyone's sadness, and not just the ones here. I mean my entire pack, plus Norman and Nellie's and the council members. Is everyone this sad and upset that I got injured? I asked Max, and he stopped dead in his tracks. Then he turned to me. You were asleep for weeks. No one thought you were going to wake up. Everyone has gotten ready to accept the fact that our Luna Queen was soon to die. You can single-handedly change the tide of this war coming up. We still have 2 weeks before we must fight. Everyone will follow you into battle if you're up for it, Max said, looking me dead in my eyes. Wait, so you mean to tell me that everyone has decided to follow my lead in this war? I asked, and he nodded. Everyone who has met you feels your power, your strength, your bravery. You can make the strongest of alphas fall to their knees. Hell, I knew from the start when I first laid eyes on you that I would follow you and protect you no matter what. You are my queen, Rory. I will always fall to my knees if you ask me to. Without a question, he said. Max moved to the side and let me walk into the room first. I can't lose her again, Nellie said. I smiled and walked in just enough to be in the room. But so they can't see me, you won't lose me ever, I said, getting everyone's attention. When their eyes landed on me, they started to cry. I smiled and motioned for Nellie to come hug me, and she didn't wait a moment longer. Soon after her, everyone else followed. Let's eat, I said after a few minutes, and everyone agreed. We made our way into the kitchen, but everyone was behind me, letting me go first. When I walked into the kitchen, I saw Alpha Carson and Luna Sophie. Oh, thank goodness you're alive. We have informed the other packs of what has happened. Now we let them know you are okay, and need time to get stronger, Alpha Carson said, and I smiled. I gave him and Sophie a hug, and sat for dinner with everyone else. Chapter 17. Ro, I didn't really sleep last night. I was up all night trying to figure out why I couldn't talk to my wolf. When Max woke up, I told him and he told me about everything. I can't believe I lost my wolf, and I won't be able to shift anymore, like ever again, I said, crying and hugging Max. I thanked him for telling me the truth. I went into the bathroom to check on my wound, but it was fully healed besides the 3 claw mark scars starting from under my breast to my belly button. I took a shower and got dressed in stretchy shorts and a sports bra. I went to look for Max, but he was nowhere to be found. No one was. Hey, the Shadow Pack and the Red Crescent Pack are meeting the wolves that are bringing this war to us, to buy you time to get stronger, Max said, through our link, and it pissed me off. And where are you? I asked him. I'm with the Black Paw Pack, getting more supplies, he responded. There was nothing I could do to stop them, so I might as well get to work on getting stronger. They have been gone for a few days, and Max isn't responding to me. I'm getting worried. I have been training day and night, and surprisingly I have gotten a lot stronger than I was before. You know, when I had my wolf. I think it's the fear of losing my home and the people I care about that's pushing me. They have been gone for almost 2 weeks now, and I'm debating on going after them or not. Just as I'm about to go out for a run, someone busts through my front door. Whoever you are, you might want to leave, I said out loud. All I got in return was a deep laugh. I turned the corner, Max, I yelled, then ran and jumped on him, to which he caught me with ease. We kissed almost instantly. We stayed like that for a few minutes, and I was planning on staying like that for a lot longer. That was until I heard others walking in. It was the other packs you all came I said in disbelief, and everyone laughed. You're our queen. All you need to do is call. Plus, we already signed up for this war of a lifetime, Alpha Philip said with a smile. I smiled back and watched as all the Lunas walked in, going to their mates' sides. We will fight by your side, Alpha King and Luna Queen Alpha, Jacob said, and everyone nodded their heads in agreement. This fight will be the biggest to come known to our kind, and others like us. All we must do now is sit and wait. We have no idea how many there are, and what pack or packs have turned their backs on us. All I know, I'm not giving up until my last breath, and that goes for everyone else who has decided to fight with us.
Max, all the women and children have dozed off, making us alphas and men more on edge. This battle may or may not alter everything we know and love. All I know is I'm going to fight for my family, my people, and the ones I care for most. I gently rubbed Rose back. When I did, she pushed herself closer to me, causing me to smile. That's when I heard. It was low and almost quiet. The other alphas heard it along with some warriors and trackers as they shot up to their feet. Quickly wake the girls and the others, I said, and they nodded, keeping an eye on all the entrances. When I got Ro up, we shared a short but passionate kiss before we got ready to fight. We made our way to the front, back, and sides of the pack house. Everyone took their stances as the rogues and the demon paw pack emerged from the tree lines. I looked over at Ro. All I could see was fear, written all over face, but it quickly changed to anger. I reached over and took her hand in mine. I could feel her anger. "This is my old pack," she said through gritted teeth. I looked next to Ro and saw Nellie and Norman with the same expression. "Okay, everyone, listen up. The pack that has betrayed us is the Demon Paw Pack. I want everyone to be careful they don't fight fair or clean," Ro said through our pack link. She looked at me and smiled. I smiled back. "I love you, Ro. I always have," I said through our link. "I love you too, Max. We will win this fight." "I know we will," she replied, and I nodded in agreement. "Let's get this started, shall we? The only problem, no one is taking a single step or making a single move." Just as I was about to start this, war cries could be heard from the back. I went straight for the Demon Paw Pack's Alpha Marcus. "I'm coming for you, you bastard." I tackled him to the ground and our fight began. I zoned out everyone but Ro and my uncle. After a few minutes of us wrestling, swing after swing, we landed punch after punch on each other. The only difference, I was stronger than him, so I came out as the victor in this one-on-one. Now the only problem, the rogues won't give up. Ro and I met up and decided to stick together like the other wolves with mates, not wanting to lose one another. The fight raged on for hours. We took them out one by one, but they kept coming. We had some injured, but our healing abilities were able to keep up, thank Lord. This fight went on until the next day, around midday. Alpha Carson took down the last one, with some help from his mate. It's finally over, or at least for now it was. Everyone went in and got their wounds treated. Ro and I were walking past the head warrior and tracker of the Shadow Pack, Adam and Austin. "Damn, Luna Queen, even after getting your ass handed to you, you managed to pull that win off. You are one strong woman," Adam said, and Ro just laughed and kept walking. After everyone had showers, we all sat down to eat and talk about the fight.
Chapter 18. Ro. I went to bed before everyone else and woke up before everyone to train and get strong again. When I woke, Max was out cold. I've never seen him this tired before, I thought as I got up and made my towards the closet for workout clothes, making sure to cover my scars. All I could think about was losing my wolf. How could this have happened, I thought to myself. "Hey, I mean good morning," Luna Queen Nellie said and giggled. I shook my head and headed for the back door. She grabbed my arm. "Where are you going?" she asked, concerned. I smiled and said, "I'm going for a run." She nodded her head. "No, you're not. You're going for a run to see if you can still do things without your wolf. Look, I know you miss her, but you're going to just hurt yourself trying to be your old self again," Nellie said, and I looked at my feet and just nodded, then headed for the door.
Max. When I woke up, Ro was gone. When I realized she wasn't in the room, I ran downstairs. My heart just got faster and faster. I looked around but only found all the packs and their alphas and Lunas. Jeremy saw me and came to my side along with all the alphas. "Where is she? Where is my mate?" I asked, using my alpha tone. Nellie walked up. "She's out for a run," she said, and started to walk away. I walked into the kitchen, following Nellie. "She can't be alone right now, and you know that," I said. Nellie looked at me in disbelief. "She needs her space, Max. Put yourself in her shoes. She lost her wolf, Max. That's not something she's just going to get over it. She needs to cope with the fact that Ro won't have her wolf anymore, let alone not being able to shift again. What she needs is for you and—" Nellie paused, then walked to the living room and stood on a chair, getting the pack's attention. "All right, look, I need all of you to listen up. Yes, we won one of the bigger wars we will ever face, but we have a bigger one right under our noses. Our Luna Queen Rory is going through the darkest part of her life right now as we speak. She needs us more than ever. Before the war, she lost her wolf and her ability to shift. For now, all of you will see a very broken Rory. Norman and I grew up with her, so we can honestly say this is the worst she's been. Just be prepared for her to not be around as much. And she won't talk like normal, but just know that she cares and appreciates all of you. Nellie finished and got down.
Ro, I'm currently in the middle of the woods surrounded by trees for miles. I closed my eyes and just let out all of my emotions in one scream. When I was done, I had tears streaming down my face. I looked up to the sky. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? I said and dropped to my knees. I just want her back. I want my life back, I continued. I took a few deep breaths to calm myself. I looked up and took my rage, sadness, and hopelessness out on the trees. Destroying one after the other, I went to take one last swing and felt an unstoppable pain shot through my body. Crap, I cursed to myself. Once I realized that I pushed myself a little too far. I found a spot to sit for a minute and let my body rest. After 5 minutes, I decided to go for another quick run, then headed back.
Max. When Ro finally came back, all eyes were on her. She looked at everyone and just smiled like she used to. But it was off. Extremely off. She walked up to our room, and I was right behind her. But before I could make it to the stairs, Nellie grabbed my arm. That smile was fake, you know, she said. Yeah, I know. I'm going to see if she needs anything. I'll be back, I said, and she nodded. By the time I made it to the room, Ro was in the shower, so I let her be and just waited on the bed. When she came out, I could tell she had been crying. I opened my arms for her, and sure enough, she came to join me on the bed. We just laid there, and I rubbed her back, waiting for her to talk if she wanted. Why is this happening, she asked, and sat up, dragging me with her. To be honest, I don't know. But I'm here for you, you know that, right? I said, asked, and she nodded her head. I kissed her forehead before asking if she needed anything. But she just nodded her head no. I just want to sleep, but I need to eat. If I don't, then everyone will be upset with me, she said, and laughed. I'll go get you some dinner, I said, then kissed her head and left. When I got downstairs, I was bombarded with questions. I pushed them away as I headed to the kitchen. I made 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and grabbed a water bottle from the fridge, then headed back to Ro. I opened the door to an asleep Rory. I gently shook her awake and handed her food and water. She smiled and happily ate, then passed out. I kissed her cheek and placed the plate on my desk. After I was ready for bed, I texted Nellie and told her Ro was going to be okay. It's just going to take a little bit longer than we thought. Once I made sure our phones were plugged in, I pulled Ro to me and fell asleep. Chapter 19. Max, I had a meeting with the council and pack alphas. When I got up, I looked around for Ro, but she wasn't in the room. I quickly got dressed and ran downstairs. As I was looking around the living room, all eyes were on me. Norman came up to me. Dude, what's wrong? He asked, seeing the worry in my eyes. I looked at him. Where is Ro? Please tell me you know where she is, I said. Norman's face completely changed, and that was all I needed. I took off out the back door and followed her scent. It led me to the middle of the woods. When I saw her, my heart broke into 1,000,000 pieces. She was in tears, punching a tree. I wanted to go to her. But I know she needs her space, so I decided to just keep my distance in case she needs me.
Ro, a few hours go by. When I decided to take a break, the wind started to kick up. It took a split second for his scent to come to my nose. I turned around and saw him sitting by a tree watching me. He didn't move, just stayed still and talked. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be here, but I can't leave you alone. Not right now, at least. He said and smiled. My feet moved before my body taking me to Max. I collapsed in his lap and cried once again. All he did was hold me and rub my back. I don't know what I would do without him. He is my home, my safe place.
Max. The moment she fell into my lap, her body went numb. I had no idea she was hurting like this. I lifted her head and told her that we could train all day if she wanted, but I wanted to be here for all of it. She nodded her head and got up. We started with the basics of fighting and went from there. We were out here for 3, maybe 4 hours training non-stop. When we stopped, Ro was laying on the ground trying to catch her breath. Are you okay? I asked, and she nodded. I laughed and joined her in the grass. I guess we should head back, she said, and I nodded, agreeing with her. Before I could get up, Ro climbed on top of me, placing her hands on my chest. I rested my hands on her hips and looked at her beautiful eyes. Thank you for everything, for being by my side. I love you, she said, with the biggest smile on her face. She leaned down and kissed me. I instantly kissed back. We should get back, Ro said, and got up, giving me a hand up.
Ro, when I walked in the pack house, I was practically tackled by Nellie. "Where have you been?" she asked. The looked at Max. When he saw her face change, he threw his hands up, and everyone laughed. "We were just training. I promise," I said, and we laughed some more. "Okay, I'm tired. I'm going shower, then pass out. See you guys whenever," I said, making my way upstairs.
Max. I watched Ro head upstairs to our room. For the rest of the night, I was pretty much spaced out. After dinner, I brought some food up for Ro, but when I got to her, she was passed out. I took a shower and laid beside her, taking her into my arms and falling asleep. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by Ro moving out of bed. I sat up. "Hey, what's wrong?" I asked, and she looked at me. "My side hurts," she said with her hand on her side. Ro lifted her shirt to show me, and her side was swollen. I looked up at her, and she looked away. "What happened?" I asked. Ro looked back at me before she spoke. "I pushed myself too far yesterday," she said, and started to cry. "I just want to be strong enough to be called your mate and Luna Queen," she said, crying as I pulled her into a hug. I held her close and told her, "You will always be strong enough to be called my mate and Luna Queen. No one will down on you for this. You lost a part of you that no one will ever be able to live through. But you did. You are living through it, and I love you no matter what." I kissed her on the forehead and held her for a little bit longer. "I'm going to get you an ice pack. I'll be back," I said before kissing her and leaving. When I got back, she was passed out once again. I crawled into bed and held the ice pack on her side until it melted, and when it did, I put it on the nightstand and went back to bed.
Chapter 20. Ro. It's been 2 weeks since that night. My side no longer hurts, and I'm almost back to my normal strength. This morning I was woken up by growling and what sounded like fighting. I made my way to the window to see if I can see anything. When I look out the window, all I can see is wolves being torn apart one after the other. I run back to the bed, awake Max up at first. He rolls over and nudges me off. I shake him again, but this time he sits up, and his eyes go wide when he hears what's going on. We got dressed in whatever and ran downstairs. Max looked at me and kissed me, then ran off. The Lunas came to my side almost instantly. I looked at all of them and they nodded. "We will fight by your side," Luna Mia said. I smiled and we got to business. Halfway through the fight, all we could hear was a growl that can only come from an alpha. The Lunas and I ran towards the growl, only to find our mates face to face with this giant rogue wolf. Just as we were about to join, it spoke. "There she is. I want her. The she-wolf who lost her other half," he said, beginning to laugh. Max looked back at me, and his face went pale when he saw all of us standing here. I looked at this thing as it glared into my soul. No one knew what to do. One thing was for certain: we were going to win.
Max, when I turned around and saw them standing there, my heart dropped. Why does everything and everyone have to go after my mate? We had plans for tonight, and I'm not going to let this thing ruin it, or hurt them, damn it. I turned back to this rogue wolf, and shifted, causing the alphas to do the same. No one knew what this outcome would be, but all we knew, we were going to win no matter what. I lunged and got on his back. When I sank my teeth into his neck, but it did nothing. I saw the other alphas jump in, but to no avail, nothing had happened. What felt like hours have gone by, and we finally got it to submit. When it did, Alpha Carson finished the job. Everyone was still in one piece. As we were hugging and celebrating, someone screamed and ran to us. It was Nellie. She ran to Ro and collapsed. Nellie was in tears. None of it made sense in that moment. I noticed Norman wasn't with the guys, so I went looking for him. She paused. He was around the house, torn to pieces. It looked like he got ambushed and couldn't get the upper hand. Ro stopped her right there, not needing her to finish. On top of Norman being killed, Alpha Philip, Carson, and Jacob were all badly injured.
Ro. Once we brought the wolves injured to the pack hospital and got them treated, we went collect Norman to bury him and to put him to rest. Later that night, Max and I told everyone our good news, hoping it would brighten everyone's mood just a little bit. Max and I stood at the top of the stairs, getting everyone's attention. We have some amazing news, in hopes that it will raise all of your spirits, just a little if any. We are going to be having a baby, Max said with a giant smile. Once those words left his mouth, the entire pack house erupted into cheers. Once dinner was served, I found Nellie and hugged her. "Are you going to be all right?" I asked. She took a second to gather her thoughts. She looked at me with a smile. "Yes, I'll be just fine. Plus I still have a pack to attend to. Who knows, I might be lucky enough to find my second chance mate," Nellie said, and hugged me. All of us gathered for one last dinner together and had an amazing night before they all went back to their own territories.
And that brings us to the end of this story. Thank you for listening all the way through. We hope this audiobook kept you entertained and left you wanting more. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. There are plenty more full audiobooks waiting for you here, so be sure to check out the channel for your next great listen. Until next time, happy listening.